Well, first of all, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hugh, thank you for the introduction and thank you for the invitation. There's little doubt that we're meeting at a critical time for the data centre sector, and it's appropriate, I think, that on behalf of the government I would outline for you where we see first of all, how important we see the sector and where we see the future. I want to congratulate you, Hugh, on getting us here 15 years on. When you started out 15 years ago, data centres were a very different prospect, and I think some might not have seen the growth that thankfully we have seen and the kind of changes that it has heralded. To the StepX organising team, I want to thank you for your invitation and indeed for putting together such a comprehensive two-day programme on the strategic operational issues and opportunities involved in Ireland's data centre and digital infrastructure sector. As I said, data centres are essential for our modern economy in many respects, underpinning the provision of numerous services needed in a modern society. And oftentimes, those detractors that are amongst us would seek to minimise the role of data centres to be nothing other than storage centres for social media videos and unnecessary aspects of a modern life. And of course, that's not at all the case. They're fundamental for online banking, for shopping, for accessing health and public services online. And we're certainly aware that artificial intelligence continues to develop, and therefore the importance of data centres will also play an increasing role in that, and not only as the backbone of digital infrastructure, but as critical enablers of innovation, scalability and resilience. And certainly from an AI perspective, we're only at the embryonic stages of the impact that AI is going to have in a positive way on our lives and livelihoods as we progress through. There are enormous opportunities that bring so many benefits to life, and I think we've got to move beyond too some of the negativity that continues to be proffered about AI. It's here to stay, and we've got to harness its benefits for the benefit of all. And like you, government are deeply ambitious about the opportunities and potential for growth in this sector and for Ireland to continue to be a European and a global digital leader. And we're committed to progressing the digital transformation of our economy, but also our society. We acknowledge the challenges being faced, including in terms of energy, climate and planning, that must be addressed in a planned and strategic approach. Data centres are a key part of our value proposition for foreign direct investment and will continue to underpin future economic opportunities over coming decades. Ireland has supported a data centre sector of global significance, which has contributed to economic and employment growth and indeed national prosperity. The construction and operation of data centres contribute directly to our economy and create employment opportunities. In addition, the supply chain enterprise that has developed around data centres in Ireland has given the Irish subsector a significant global advantage, contributing to associated employment and exports. On my way across to the podium, I had an opportunity to meet some of the indigenous Irish companies who have benefited because we were early adapters and are now seeing those companies develop and grow and export their services around the world. And that's really heartening, and it demonstrates to me and to the government that we've got to stay the course through these challenging times with this particular sector, recognising what it has meant to us and what it can mean for the future. Furthermore, data centres serve as anchors for high-value investment in Ireland, reinforcing the country's position as a global hub for digital infrastructure. They not only support crucial sectors such as the ICT and manufacturing, but also enhance Ireland's attractiveness as a reliable strategic destination for foreign direct investment. we have made, delegates, huge strides in adopting and expanding our energy infrastructure, and this has facilitated the rapid growth in demand for data centres, which has risen from, I think, 5% of metered electricity consumption in 2015 to about 22% at the end of 2024. This highly successful and critical industry has grown faster than our electricity system has, unfortunately. We must find, though, a balanced approach to facilitating additional demand for energy by data centres, while also ensuring the competitiveness, sustainability and security of our supply of our energy system. And in that context, as you are aware, the Commission for Regulation of Utilities is developing a new data centre connection policy to provide a pathway for future large energy users and their connections. And given the significant number of responses received during the public consultation and the balance of priorities facing the decision, the anticipated publication date is subject to fully addressing the complexity of the detailed submissions received, but is expected later this year. I want to recognise in the audience my dear friend Michael McCarthy, who's a Director of Cloud Infrastructure Ireland, who is a regular provider of good information from the industry, both to me, to Minister O'Brien and to other members of government, and we value his support and his advice to us as we grapple with the magnitude of what has to be addressed. Government is actively considering this policy and indeed other policies closely. However, these challenges cannot be addressed by the regulatory policy alone. The Government is determined to continue to attract large energy users in the medium term by proposing a holistic approach that integrates government ambition to decarbonise, digitise and develop the economy. The recently published Action Plan on Competitiveness and Productivity is a whole-of-government approach that includes a range of measures to address energy costs and infrastructure constraints, including actions on facilitating private electricity connection, review of our network tariff regime and a plan-led approach to large energy user development over the medium term. The National Development Plan launched by the Government in July provided for the provision of up to €3.5 billion in additional equity to support an unprecedented investment of €18 billion in electricity grid infrastructure between 2026 and 2030. That is a very significant contribution by the Government on behalf of the Irish people to underpin the future growth of our economy. It's a very clear signal from us that we need to invest in our grid infrastructure to provide for the future of large energy users, including data centres. This is a once-in-a-generation grid investment to diversify our energy system and significant support for energy efficiency and renewables alongside independent regulation that protects customers and delivers efficient, competitive energy retail and indeed wholesale markets. By unlocking growth in indigenous renewables and reducing our reliance on imported fossil fuels, this will result in reduced energy costs for all consumers over the medium term. The investment will support too the cost-effective delivery of major electricity grid projects out to 2030 and the development of an energy-intensive industry and manufacturing, as I said, including data centres. This represents a step change in investment in our electricity grid infrastructure and will ensure that our electricity system continues to meet the needs of our growing population and support the delivery of government targets and policies across climate, society and the economy, and the overarching need to maintain robust energy security and affordability. Investing is one thing, but we also need to deliver these projects, and that is why the Government is also focusing on infrastructure delivery, including by establishing the Accelerating Infrastructure Task Force and the Accelerating Renewable Electricity Task Force, which will expedite electricity grid delivery by identifying the key barriers and indeed the potential solutions. As an Irish energy sector evolves and diversifies, there are opportunities to alter the environment in which electricity supply takes place, and private wires provides one such opportunity. And those of you that are in tune with what's going on, and I assume most of you are if you're here at 10 o'clock in the morning. In July this year, the government adopted a strategy statement on private wires. This is a very significant reform of the rules on electricity infrastructure. It will unlock private sector investment in electricity infrastructure, particularly renewable generation and storage, by expanding the rights of private undertakings to connect supply directly with demand. Government is moving to implement this as a priority. Government continues and is committed to supporting data centres that contribute to impactful economic growth and the enterprise economy, and efficient grid use, such as prioritising waste heat capture for district heating systems and other local uses. And on my way in, I saw a former member of the Oireachtas, Pauline O'Reilly, who is the CEO of the Irish District Energy Association. I thank her for the work that she's there. Thank her for the work that she's doing. And I know that Minister O'Brien recently announced and approved €5 million pre-construction fund for district heating projects to accelerate their development. This is a pivotal technology to help Ireland reach its climate ambitions, while also improving our energy security and affordability. Many data centre operators are corporate leaders in decarbonising data, committing to net zero carbon and 100% renewable energy goals. They are an important part in increasing the investment and supply of sustainable energy. And for example, through the corporate purchase power agreements, on-site renewables, demand flexibility, battery storage, and indeed other sustainable solutions. This is an important part of Ireland's green transition and is helping Ireland in progressing towards its 80% renewable grid ambitions. Government too intends to harness this ambition where possible to contribute to our national objectives and facilitate investment in renewable energy, energy storage, and indeed energy parks and other efficient and sustainable opportunities. And that is why the programme for government commits to establishing a comprehensive plan to accelerate renewable energy generation, connectivity and planning processes. And this plan will guide the medium-term development of infrastructure in respect of data centres and other strategically significant, very energy-intensive industries in alignment with Ireland's decarbonisation objectives and growing the knowledge-based economy. The programme for government, ladies and gentlemen, also commits to develop green energy industrial parks to attract large-scale investments in regional locations co-located with renewable energy generation. And when I talk about that, I talk about the opportunity as we move from, or we plan to move from the phase of development of onshore generation to our ambition to generate more electricity offshore. And there's already an auction underway in the South Coast DMAP area known as the Tonua site, and I think by early December we'll be announcing the winner of that bid. And it's appropriate that where we identify locations and where energy is to be generated in the future, that rather than stressing the grid and moving that electricity to locations closer to Dublin, that we try to develop, or that we do develop, those energy parks in those locations closest to where that energy comes ashore. And that also includes, of course, where the interconnection points will be. And this is aligned with Powering Prosperity, Ireland's offshore wind energy strategy, as I said, which sets out the vision for industrial parks powered by green energy from that offshore wind energy. However, Ireland must now manage the energy transition pathways to 2030 and after, which it is expected that through the accelerated development of offshore wind energy, Ireland will have an abundance of decarbonised energy which can be utilised to facilitate the economic growth ambitions of both indigenous businesses and indeed the MNCs. We have earlier this year begun the process of a national DMAP around the waters of Ireland to identify up to an additional 15 gigawatts of electricity by 2030, a resource coming from those offshore facilities, including at least one, if not two, demonstrator sites for floating offshore. That shows the government's commitment to offshore wind, offshore energy, but we've got to be in tandem with that, showing support for large energy users and for the sector, because the two have to come together. If we're generating the electricity, we have to have had a policy that clearly meets the needs and expectations of the large energy users, so that they don't drift and move to other jurisdictions. And we've got to show the commitment that we're going to have that energy as you, as large energy users, will require. And the government is actively pursuing a vision and building a future for Ireland to become a global hub for ethical, trustworthy and transparent AI. AI presents a strategic opportunity to drive significant economic growth, attract substantial investment and indeed talent, and of course boost innovation and productivity across all sectors. And we all acknowledge the challenges with this potential, including climate and energy. However, it represents a real opportunity to accelerate the transmission and advancement of renewable energy sources, energy efficient technology and effective solutions to help balance the grid, support Ireland's decarbonisation goals and deliver sustainable data centre development and AI innovation. We are all participants in these digital and energy transitions, which will require continued collaboration with all stakeholders, colleagues across government, industry partners and many others to deliver solutions to enhance Ireland's energy security and resilience that will deliver on the opportunities ahead and support Ireland's positioning as a commercially competitive investment destination. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for the interest that you show by being here today with Hugh and others. Your work to date in making us a global leader in this space, your continued commitment to the industry and to Ireland, notwithstanding the challenges that I have talked about. And I hope that my presence and my presentation and my thoughts that I have shared with you clearly sets out the ambition of the government to continue to support, promote and grow this sector, to walk with you in a collaborative way, to work with you as a partner, to recognise that together we all can prosper. You from an investment perspective and a return on your investment. From us from a government perspective for providing opportunities for our young people of the future to be able to grow our economy, to be able to generate money from this sector, to support our public services and to build a resilience that will ensure that we remain in the upper echelons of countries to attract foreign investment, particularly in the tech sector, and to assist us to get over that hump that we have in terms of our infrastructure generally, not just in energy and grid, but also in water and sewerage and the kind of infrastructure deficit that we're grappling with, which is impacting on our housing sector. You are an integral part of that in terms of what you provide to this state to assist us to get through all of that. So I thank you for what you have done to date, and I look forward to working with you as the government does in the months and the years ahead for a successful outcome for a better Ireland for all. Thank you very much.
Mr. Dooley, thank you very much for a very enlightening speech.